Her name was Amara. She wasn't the most popular girl in college, but there was something about her that made people pause. Maybe it was the quiet way she smiled, the way her eyes held a softness even when she wasn't speaking, or maybe it was the way she loved, wholly, fearlessly, with every inch of her fragile heart. I met her during our sophomore year at a mutual friend's birthday party. She was sitting alone on the back porch, nursing a warm cup of wine cooler, like it was a secret she was afraid to share. I said something dumb like, "This is a weird place to hide," and she gave me this shy half-smile that made my chest tighten. We dated for nearly 2 years. It wasn't serious for me. I was young, reckless, and living in a version of the world that centered only around my ambitions and thrills. She, on the other hand, was already talking about settling down, about buying land, raising children, growing old together. That wasn't what I wanted. I wanted fun. I wanted freedom. I didn't want her dreams shackling me down. And so I ended it. No warning. No gentle fade. Just a cold, careless, "This isn't working anymore. I don't see a future with you." She cried hard. She clutched my hands and begged me to reconsider. Her face was wet, her makeup smeared, her lips trembling. "You told me you loved me," she whispered. "I did," I replied flatly. "But love isn't enough." She didn't speak after that. She just stood there, staring at me like I had ripped something out of her soul and left a bleeding hole behind. I remember walking away feeling more annoyed than guilty. I thought, she'll get over it. Girls always do. I never saw her again. But I heard about her months later. A friend told me she dropped out of school, that she moved back home, that she was going through a rough patch. Then, the news came quietly like death itself. Amara had died. A sleeping pill overdose, they said, but no one needed to say the word. Everyone knew what it was. Suicide. They said she left a note, but I never saw it. Part of me didn't want to. I buried the guilt, tucked it somewhere deep inside me, and convinced myself that it wasn't really my fault. People break up all the time. She was just weak, too emotional, too sensitive. Time moved on, and so did I. I graduated, landed a good job, met Claire, beautiful, brilliant Claire, and I fell in love for real this time. We got married, bought a cozy house in a quiet cul-de-sac just outside the city. We had a little girl, Emma, with Claire's eyes and my wild curly hair. Life was good, better than good. It was perfect, until the night I saw Amara again. It was a Wednesday, around 10:30 p.m. I had just put Emma to bed and was outside locking the backyard gate. We had raccoons getting into the trash, and Claire kept reminding me to do it every night. The air was still and the sky moonless, that kind of darkness where the trees looked like charcoal sketches. As I turned to head back inside, I saw her, standing at the edge of the yard. Her dress was the same one she wore the last time I saw her. Pale blue, thin fabric, the kind of dress you'd wear in spring, not the middle of October. I blinked hard. She didn't move, just stood there, her arms limp at her sides, her head slightly tilted like she was examining me from a great distance. Her face wasn't rotting or bloody or grotesque. It was just pale, hollow. Her lips were blue. I took a step forward, my voice caught in my throat. Amara, she vanished. Just gone, like mist dissolving into the dark. I stumbled back, almost tripping over the rake by the shed. My heart was hammering. My mind raced with explanations. Lack of sleep, a shadow, maybe a trick of the light. But deep down, something colder whispered, "She saw you." I didn't tell Claire. I didn't sleep. The next day, I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe I'd finally let the guilt creep up after all these years. Maybe I just needed rest. But the dreams began that night. Vivid, merciless dreams. I was standing in a hallway of mirrors. Every reflection was Amara, crying, screaming, laughing, pointing at me, her voice echoing in all directions. "You said love wasn't enough," over and over. I woke up gasping, cold sweat soaking sheets. The bedside clock read 3:33 a.m. That number, it would come back to haunt me. At first, I didn't tell Claire. What could I say? "Hey babe, my dead ex showed up in our backyard last night, and now she's starring in my nightmares." But then Emma started talking to someone in her room. We'd find her giggling, her tiny hands outstretched toward the closet. She's pretty, Daddy, she'd say. She cries sometimes. I asked her who she was talking about. The sad lady, she replied. She says you hurt her. My blood ran cold. Claire laughed it off. Imaginary friend, she said. Toddlers are weird. But I knew better. Amara was back. And this time, she wasn't alone. It started with small things. Light switches flipping on by themselves. Cold spots in the hallway that hadn't been there before. The faint sound of someone humming at night. Always the same melody, soft and sorrowful, like a lullaby sung from a grave. I tried to stay rational. I told myself it was just stress, a guilty conscience playing tricks on my mind. Claire and I had just passed our 5th anniversary. Work was demanding. Parenting was exhausting. Maybe he needed a break. But then came the photo. Claire was organizing our digital albums for a photo book she wanted to print. She called me over one night, laughter in her voice. Hey, you gotta see this one. Emma looks like she saw a ghost. I leaned over her shoulder. It was a photo of us in the backyard. Emma playing in the kiddie pool, Claire holding her up while she splashed around. I remembered that day. It was sunny mid-June. Nothing strange, until I saw the background. Behind the hedge, near the old tool shed, a figure. Barely visible, but unmistakable. A woman. Thin, pale, wearing that same pale blue dress. Amara. I froze. Claire turned to me. Babe, what's wrong? I forced a smile. Nothing. Just weird lighting, I guess. She frowned, sensing my tension. You sure? I nodded and walked away before she could press further. But my hands were trembling. That night, I barely slept. Every creak in the house sounded like footsteps. Every whisper of wind against the window pane made me flinch. And then, at 3:33 a.m., the smoke alarm went off. I jumped out of bed, heart racing. Claire bolted upright, disoriented. There's no smoke, she shouted, grabbing Emma as I raced through the house. Nothing. No fire. No signs of burning. But the alarm was shrieking. Not the usual beeping, but a long, distorted wail, like it was screaming in agony. I yanked it down and pulled the battery. Silence returned. We checked every corner of the house. Everything was fine. Claire was unsettled, but we chalked it up to a malfunction. Still, she stayed up with Emma the rest of the night. I stayed downstairs, drinking. That was when the humming started again. This time, closer, coming from the kitchen. I crept toward the sound, the floorboards groaning beneath my feet. I didn't want to go in there, but something pulled me. A dark curiosity. Or maybe it was fear that if I ran, I'd never stop running. The humming stopped the moment I stepped into the kitchen. I flipped the light switch. She was standing by the sink. Amara, her back to me. Long black hair hanging limp and wet like she just stepped out a river. Her arms were trembling, her shoulders shaking, as if she were sobbing silently. I couldn't move. She turned slowly. Her face, God, her face. It wasn't decayed or bloody like in horror movies. It was worse. It was sad, empty, tired. Her eyes locked onto mine, wide, black, accusing. You promised, she whispered. My breath caught in my throat. I never. You said I meant something. I backed away, my spine pressing against the refrigerator. You're not real, I whispered. You're dead. I was. She stepped closer. Her bare feet left no sound on the floor. You killed me. No, I shouted. You did that to yourself. I moved on. I'm not responsible for her. You forgot me. That's when the lights burst above us. Glass shattered across the counter like jagged rain. I covered my head instinctively, but when I looked back up, she was gone. Just gone. I collapsed to the floor, gasping. Claire found me there minutes later, curled up under the table like a frightened child. I told her I had a nightmare. A panic attack. I don't think she believed me, but she didn't press. She let me sleep on the couch. The next morning, Emma refused to come downstairs. She's in the kitchen, she said, hiding under a blanket. Claire gave me a confused look. Who? The sad lady. That was when I knew. She wasn't just haunting me anymore. She was haunting my family. I took time off work, said I needed a mental reset. Claire was worried, but supportive. I started going through old boxes, looking for anything that could give me closure. Old letters, photos, anything from our time together. I found a ring. It was in a shoebox, tucked behind an old stack of textbooks in the garage. A simple silver band with a small sapphire. A gift I gave her once. Probably the only real gesture I ever made to show I cared. She'd left it behind after the breakup. I'd meant to return it. I never did. That night, I placed the ring on the kitchen counter. Alone. Quiet. "I'm sorry," I said aloud, voice cracking. I should have been kinder. I should have listened. No response. Just silence. But the next morning, the ring was gone. In its place was a note. Not written. Carved. Into the wood. "You're too late." I stopped recognizing myself. It wasn't just the insomnia or the constant paranoia anymore. Something inside me was different. Darker. Claire noticed first. My temper, once controlled, now flared at the slightest irritation. I snapped at Emma over a spilled cup of juice. I screamed at Claire for forgetting to lock the front door. I didn't even remember yelling until she showed me the voicemail she left herself in the other room. Just in case she needed proof I was losing it. I stopped shaving. I stopped eating. Most nights, I stood by the window, watching the backyard for hours, convinced I'd see her, Amara, staring back at me from the trees. One night, I blacked out. When I woke up, my hands were covered in dirt. I was standing in the backyard, barefoot, freezing, shovel in my hand. There was a hole in the ground, freshly dug. Claire found me there, screaming, crying, digging. "For what?" she kept asking. "What are you looking for?" I didn't know, but in the dark corners of my mind, I did. Her. I couldn't tell if I was dreaming anymore. I'd see her reflection in mirrors instead of my own. Her voice echoed in my thoughts, whispering things, cruel things, about my wife, my daughter, telling me they didn't belong to me, that I didn't deserve peace, that she should have been the one beside me. One night, I looked in the mirror and saw her eyes in my face. Black, hollow, smiling. I punched the glass until it shattered. Claire hid Emma that night, took her to her sisters, said I needed help. I didn't argue. I was scared of myself too. I went to a therapist, told her everything. She nodded kindly, offered pills. She didn't believe me. No one would. No one could, because no one saw what I saw. Until Claire called me, breathless with fear. She was in the house, she whispered. Emma saw her again. She was in Emma's room. The haunting wasn't mine anymore. It had spread. This wasn't grief or guilt. This was possession, and I was no longer the only target. The night air was heavy with moisture, and the world outside my windshield blurred with the shimmer of streetlights on damp pavement. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached, replaying Emma's words in my mind like a broken record. The lady came back. She was crying. When I pulled up to Claire's sister's home, the porch light flickered once and then died, like even the house didn't want me there. Claire opened the door before I reached the steps. Her face was pale, her lips trembling. "She hasn't slept," she whispered. "She keeps talking to someone who isn't there." My heartbeat thrummed like a war drum in my chest. I brushed past her and found Emma sitting upright in bed, her little arms wrapped tightly around her stuffed bear. Her eyes, usually so warm, were wide, almost vacant. "She was here again," she whispered without looking at me. "She said you left her behind." My stomach dropped. "Did she touch you?" Emma shook her head slowly, but her eyes shifted toward the corner of the room. "There," she said. "She cried there last night." Then she smiled. "She said she found where you live now." I turned to look at the corner. It was empty, but the shadows stretched longer than they should have. There was a strange dent in the wall, a small, circular scuff, like something had pressed its head against it repeatedly. "Emma, honey," I said gently, "can you tell me what she looked like?" She hesitated. "She looks like the picture, the one in the red box under your bed." My mouth went dry. That photo, I hadn't seen it in years. I kept a single picture of Amara, not out of love, but guilt. It was buried deep in an old box under our bed at home. Emma couldn't have known it existed. Claire entered with a glass of water, but froze when the lamp on the nightstand flickered violently and went out. The air grew icy in seconds. I stepped toward Emma instinctively. Then the closet door creaked open behind me. It was slow, agonizingly slow. I turned to face it, every nerve in my body screaming. Just clothes, boxes, nothing more, until I saw the faintest shape, a silhouette huddled low among my daughter's dresses. Her, Amara, the same decayed face I'd seen at the window, eyes black, lips pale and twitching. Her head turned slowly, bone cracking with emotion, until her empty gaze fixed on me. Then, just as fast, she was gone. The light flicked back on. The closet was empty. Claire grabbed my arm. "This isn't a haunting," she said breathlessly. "She's not just angry. She wants to replace someone." Emma whimpered. "She said if I sleep in your bed, she'll tuck me in forever." That was it. I couldn't run anymore. I had to face what I had buried, literally and emotionally. "I'm going back," I said. "To where?" Claire asked. "To her grave." I hadn't been to St. Agnes Cemetery in nearly 5 years. I'd avoided it with the same self-delusion I used to silence the guilt in my chest. "She's gone. She can't hurt you. Let the past stay buried." But the past wasn't buried. Not really. And now it had come clawing back. The night was bone cold when I pulled up to the cemetery gates. A dense fog curled along the ground like it was alive, slithering between the tombstones. The iron gate creaked open with a scream that sent a chill crawling down my spine. I carried a flashlight, but even its beam seemed weak here, like the darkness wasn't just night, but something thicker, unnatural. I navigated the rows until I found her grave. Amara Layton, 1993 to 2019. Loved, lost, and remembered. I hadn't brought flowers. What you bring to the woman you destroyed? An apology carved in stone wasn't enough. Still, I stood there, waiting, unsure what I even hoped would happen. The wind picked up suddenly. I felt it before I heard it. That thick, pulsing quiet that precedes something terrible. Then the whispers, not in my ears, in my mind. Words I didn't understand. Something old, something wrong. The earth beneath Amara's grave began to tremble. Just lightly, like a heartbeat. Then a crack split the headstone in two. I stepped back, heart racing as the dirt shifted. Something was pushing through. Not her body, something darker. I watched in horror as black, gnarled roots broke the surface, writhing like snakes. A voice low, cruel, and agonizingly familiar filled the air. "You love my body. You use my soul. Now I want yours." My flashlight blinked out. Everything went black. I staggered, tripping over a root, slamming hard into the dirt. I could hear her breathing, whispering, moving behind me. But when I turned, there was nothing, except a figure, standing at the edge of the woods. Her, but not her. Amara's decayed form was shifting, like smoke and flesh. Her eyes were pits of shadow. Her mouth hung open in an endless scream, but no sound came out, until she took a step toward me. Then another. I ran. I didn't care about respect or rituals or apologies. I sprinted out of that cemetery like hell was chasing me, because it was... By the time I reached the car, my hands were trembling so badly I could barely get the key into the ignition. As the engine roared to life, I looked into the rearview mirror. She was in the back seat. For a split second, her dead eyes met mine, wide, black, and full of betrayal. Then gone. No sound, no trace. Just my own reflection, pale and drenched in fear. But I knew the truth. This wasn't over. It was only the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. Even after leaving the cemetery, after convincing myself I hadn't really seen her, not in the grave, not in the rearview mirror, I couldn't close my eyes without feeling her presence near me. The room felt cold, heavy. The walls felt too close. Every creak of the house, every rustle outside the window set my nerves on fire. By morning, my wife noticed. "Eli, what's wrong? You're pale. Did you sleep at all?" I lied. "Just a migraine. I'll be fine." I wasn't fine. I hadn't been fine since I started seeing Amara. When I took our daughter to school, I noticed something odd. Kids stared at me. Not the usual shy or playful looks, but quiet, wide-eyed stares. One little girl clung to her mother's coat and whispered, "That's the man with the crying lady." The mother gave me a nervous smile and ushered her away. Crying lady? That afternoon, I got a call from the school. My daughter, Lily, had drawn something disturbing in class. I arrived at the counselor's office expecting maybe a strange doodle or a nightmare-inspired picture. Well, I saw chill my blood. It was a drawing of our house. In the window stood Lily and my wife. Outside was me, and standing next to me was a dark figure. A woman. Her eyes were hollow, her hands had claws, and in red crayon, Lily had written 3 words beneath the picture. "She won't leave." I asked Lily gently who the woman was. She shrugged, clearly scared. She said she used to love you, but now she's sad. She watches us from the corners. That night, I bolted every door and window. I slept with the lights on, but sleep still came, and so did the dream. In it, I was standing in our bedroom. My wife slept beside me, unaware. The moonlight poured through the window, but something blocked it, a silhouette. "Amara," she whispered, not with words but with pain. "You owe me a life." I woke with a gasp. Only, I wasn't alone. My wife was still asleep, but at the foot of the bed stood Amara's ghostly figure, flickering, shifting between beauty and rot. Her eyes stared into mine with unimaginable grief. "You took my future, so I'll take yours piece by piece." She vanished into shadow. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My throat was dry. My chest was hollow. I realized then, this wasn't just about guilt or regret. It was retribution, and she wasn't going to stop. Not until I paid in blood, sanity, or worse, in family. The days that followed blurred together like smudged charcoal. Sleep came in fleeting bursts, and when it did, I dreamed of her, Amara. Not the warm, smiling girl I once dated, but the twisted remnant of her, dragging sorrow and death in her wake. I tried to pretend it was all in my head, that grief or guilt or stress was playing tricks on me, but it wasn't. Every corner of my life had started to rot from the inside. Lily grew quiet. My little girl, so full of life, barely spoke. She spent hours in her room, drawing. Not flowers or houses or animals. No, she drew her, the crying lady. One morning, I walked in and found a stack of papers on her desk. Each was a different drawing of our house burning, with a shadowy woman standing in the flames, smiling, as if she were finally free. Lily turned to me then and said something that chilled me more than anything else so far. "Daddy," she said, "when the fire comes, I won't feel a thing." She promised. That night, I begged my wife to take Lily to her mother's place for a few days. I told her I needed time to think, to rest. Truthfully, I needed to confront the past alone. I returned to Amara's old apartment. I hadn't been there in years. The landlord barely recognized me, but let me in when I told him I used to live there. The place hadn't changed. The same faded wallpaper, the same cracked mirror in the hallway. It was like stepping back in time, into a coffin lined with memories. I walked to the room where we used to sleep. There was nothing there at first, but then I saw it, etched into the wall, under layers of paint, words. I knelt down, heart thudding. He said he loved me. He lied. More scratches followed. Angry, desperate, broken, all carved with fingernails. Maybe. He took my heart and fed it to the silence. I screamed every night, but he never heard me. If I can't have him, no one can. I stumbled back, heart racing, breath shallow. Suddenly, I felt it. Cold. The kind of cold that isn't weather, but presence. The light bulb flickered. The door creaked shut behind me. Then I heard it. Her voice, just inches from my ear, low and thick with pain. "Do you remember what you said the day you left?" I spun around. "No one. You told me I'd find someone else." But I didn't, Eli. I waited. I waited in the dark. I ran, all the way to the car, heart hammering. I didn't stop until I got home. Only, when I stepped into my living room, something was wrong. The house smelled like smoke, and on the hallway wall, scrawled in red crayon, were 5 chilling words. She said it starts tonight. I darted into Lily's room first. She was asleep, peacefully, eerily still, clutching the same ragged drawing of our burning house. The woman in the flames now had a face. Amara's face. Panic surged through me. I grabbed Lily in my arms, shouting for my wife. She came running from the kitchen, eyes wide with confusion, asking what was happening. That's when the living room lights popped, each one bursting like a shot. The air turned thick, smoky, acrid. The fireplace we hadn't used in years suddenly roared to life with unnatural flames, blue, not orange. And then, the shadows moved. From the fire's edge, a form crawled out. Not walked, crawled. Amara, but not as I remembered her. Her eyes were voids, Her hair matted with ash. Her limbs moved like something broken, bones bending where they shouldn't. She dragged herself toward us, smiling that same heartbreaking smile from our youth. "You promised me forever, Eli, and now you'll burn in it." The walls groaned. The heat rose. I didn't wait. I ran, my wife behind me, Lily in my arms. We crashed through the front door just as the living room erupted in a whirlwind of blue flame. The house screamed, yes, screamed, as if the wood and nails themselves were in pain. From the yard, I turned and saw her, Amara, standing in the flames. Not consumed, just watching and smiling. We stayed in a motel that night, far from the smoldering remains of our home. The fire marshal said it was electrical, though even he looked confused. "It's like the fire started everywhere at once," he muttered, flipping through his scorched notes. But I knew better. Amara didn't just want to haunt me. She wanted me to feel her pain, to live inside it. I barely slept. When I did, I dreamed of her face floating above mine, smiling sweetly as black tears streamed from her eyes. I woke to the sound of my daughter giggling. Not in her sleep. She was wide awake, sitting cross-legged on the floor, talking into the corner. "Daddy, Amara says you used to love her. She says you lied." My blood ran cold. "Sweetie," I whispered, "there's no one there. She says she can hear you." The lights flickered. The bathroom faucet turned on by itself. The walls of the motel room vibrated, softly at first, then like something angry wanted in. I grabbed Lily and my wife. We left. We drove. For hours. But every town, every room, every moment of peace we found, she followed. The fire wasn't the end. It was the beginning. I was marked, and so was my family. This wasn't just about what I did to her. This was about forever. I thought distance might save us. We moved states. New house. New numbers. No online presence. I deleted every photo of Amara. Burned her letters. Anything that tied me to her. But none of it worked. She didn't need a location. She was inside us now. Lily stopped speaking altogether. My wife slept during the day, afraid of what came at night. And me? I couldn't even look at my reflection anymore because sometimes it wasn't just me staring back. One night, I found Lily drawing again. A family portrait, but instead of 3 people, there were 4. A figure stood behind us in the picture, tall, black eyes, burning dress. "She wants to come inside," Lily whispered. "She says we'll be happy again." I tore the picture apart, but it didn't matter. The next morning, it was on the fridge. Whole again. Every door we closed, she opened. Every silence we tried to fill, she whispered through. And I knew the truth. I didn't just break Amara's heart. I trapped her soul in a torment so deep that not even death could contain it. I had to make it stop. Not for me anymore, but for them. My wife was a ghost of herself, jumping at shadows that whispered her name. Lily no longer smiled, no longer blinked when she stared into the corners, murmuring to someone only she could see. I returned to Amara's grave on a stormy October night, shovel in hand, heart pounding like a war drum. I thought if I faced her, if I said the words I never had the courage to say, maybe she'd let us go. The grave was empty. No casket, no bones, just a single photograph, torn at the edges, of me and her. On the back, in shaky handwriting. "You finally came back." The wind screamed. My breath turned to mist. Then I heard it, a soft voice behind me. I waited every night. I turned but saw no one. Only the weight of guilt settling on my chest, clawing at my ribs from inside. I dropped to my knees. "I'm sorry," I sobbed. "I should have loved you better." And from the darkness, her voice replied, "Now you will." And the forest swallowed me whole.